How do we know when it starts? You're in the
You
show.
are live.
It shows up. All right. It's so weird not seeing the crowd out in front of us. Hello, DragonCon. I hope you guys are having a good time. I know I am. It's very different doing this all online, but it's still fun. Welcome to the Droid Builders Group. Talking a little bit about building the droids of Star Wars. My name's Mike. I live near Charlotte, North Carolina. I built R2, which you can see back here. I'm working on a pit droid back over here. In my day job, I am an IT manager, so I do programming, I do networking, all that stuff. And I just say that because we have a wide variety of backgrounds. You don't have to be in IT, you don't have to be technology, you don't have to be computer science to build these guys. So we'll just go through the panel and introduce ourselves. Justin?
Hello, I'm Justin Mutter. I have a BB-8 that I usually take out. I have an R2 who's not quite finished, but working on. As you learn, a lot of us have multiple droids. And as far as my day job is, I'm a BMW mechanic. So it's not necessarily anything too crazy technology-wise, but it's, working with my hands and doing what I enjoy other than droids.
Good. Topher?
I'm Topher Hunter. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my day job, I'm a biomedical engineer working for a medical implant manufacturer. And as far as droids, I got started in about 2015 with this guy, R2, who's now in the process of getting a new head, and he'll get repainted. Chopper over here is my pride and joy, probably my favorite one to drive. But then in addition to working on BT, I'm working on there it is over there, BB-8 based on the club files.
Good deal, Matt.
Hey, I'm Matt Hobbs from Alabama, currently working out in LA. As far as my droids, I started out with BB-8, currently just finished R2, and then I've got a bunch of small little things I'm working, such as the mouse droids, working the 39.1%, and then besides the Star Wars droids, I also work with Wally. During the day, I work as a manufacturing engineer, currently working on completing the James Webb Space Telescope, helping to integrate the sun shields that we built in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah. So yeah, we represent the different groups: R2 builders, BB-8 builders, mouse droid builders. Chopper and BT would fall under the R2 builders group. It's astromech.net. We've got some slides up with that information later on. Start out saying that the answers to the three most common questions. Yes, you can. No, we don't. And how much do you want to spend? And those questions are, can I build one? Do you sell kits? And how much does it cost? I like to tell people anybody can build any one of these droids. Yes, you may not have those skills right now. You'll develop those skills during your build process. Do we sell kits? We're not allowed to sell kits by Lucas. Because of intellectual property and licensing and stuff like that. We can't say, here's a droid in a box, go put it together. You can build the parts yourself. You can buy certain parts from other club members, but there's no droid in a box. And then how much does it cost? It depends on what you're building, how much you build yourself versus how much do you buy from other club members. What material are you building from? Styrene, plastic, 3D printing is going to be a lot cheaper than building something out of all aluminum. Wood falls somewhere in the cheaper end. We'll talk about the trade-offs of the different materials as we go through the panel. Club history, obviously R2 is from the original movie, Star Wars. The Builders Club as it is now was founded in 1999. And this slide is old. It says currently we have more than 500 completed droids. We've got way more than that. But basically, anything you see in the movie that's vaguely R2 shaped falls under that club. When you guys want to take the talk about the BB-8 club for?
Matt, why don't you take it?
Yeah.
So as far as the BB-8 club, I mean, it was first seen, in 2014, and the club was founded in 2015. We're a lot younger than what the R2 builders are, and the astromechs themselves, but we've come a long way in a short amount of time, and just from starting with the clear spheres that we started with, and now we've got the 3D printed units of the Von Jet that can be completely printed, and then also with the club panels or with Carrie's frame and his panels. So we'll talk about those a little bit further in the chat.
Then we've got the Mouse Builders Club. Those are the little mouse droids that you see running around. They've been, again, the first seen a while ago. They actually formed as a club in 2000. And they recently, I would say recently, 3 years ago now, started up their own forum to kind of centralize all those things. So some of the materials we talked about, we mentioned styrene and wood. 3D printing's become a big thing. There's an entire Facebook group dedicated to 3D printing R2s, and I think they've got chopper files out there now too. There's a lot of 3D printing in BB-8. And Justin, you want to talk about some of that?
Some of the 3D printing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3D printing has really helped some of the droids, especially BB-8, become possible because it's not something. It's a ball. It's not something that's easily made out of wood or aluminum. And then you want to get something as light and as strong as possible. And 3D printing may not be the best, but it is very good for this application, for BB-8 in particular. And also with not just with full-size droids, with R2 and with the other droids and like the mouse droids, you can 3D print little pre-laser parts that would be harder to get made. So it's really easy for one-off things, or something that you don't have to repeat a lot.
You might bring up, I mean, we could mention Badley's group as far as being able to bring a lot more droids to life, anywhere from R2 to the little concept droids that he put together, and they're also a really good starting place for droid builders on some miniature droid kits that he started to put out. And now he's got the chopper files available, DO, and all of those. So we'll try to get a link to that in the group chat later.
Yeah, we can post that up. But yeah, and they've done amazing work on modeling those, like you said, like Matt said, the smaller stuff that can be done on the smaller printers. You don't have to have a huge bed printer to do these things. And then I mentioned in the cost earlier with the wood and the fiberglass. Topher, what are your droids made of?
I've actually got a little of everything here. So R2 is primarily an aluminum build. It's great. It makes a super solid droid. He also weighs a bloody ton, and it's probably the most pricey route to go. But it's it makes a beautiful product. The dome, the BT dome, is a hybrid of styrene and wood, based on the club plans for an R5 dome, and then I actually taught myself modeling in AutoCAD Fusion to make the missile and cannon items, and then those files are now shared on the Facebook group. And then Chopper is completely 3D printed, so you can. That's kind of the fun is you can mix and match a lot in order to figure out what's going to suit your resources, your skills, availability, and you can hybridize just about everything together if you really need to.
And that's one of the neat things with the builders clubs, the way that we have them organized, is that any Builders Club file will work, or part will work with any other Builders Club part. So I can take aluminum legs and bolt them to a wood frame and put a fiberglass dome on and 3D print all the greeblies, all the little detailed bits, and it will all fit together. And in fact, my droid, the body is Sintra with styrene skins, a fiberglass dome. I'm looking at my wrong side. But then like my radar eye right here is aluminum, and some of the arms are 3D printed. My foot shells are aluminum, but because they're all built to this club spec that we have, it all just pretty much bolts together without any big modification. So,
yeah, man, I think you both mentioned something there. It's like, your skill level, pick something that you've worked with before. If you're wanting to go that route, or you want to be challenged, pick something that you haven't, but pick something that fits your skill level. And there's so many options out there now that are available. And then once you find that, then you can find some other people that have done the same thing through the build logs that we have. Greatly help you reduce your mistakes for one up front, and then those people will reach out and help you succeed also.
Yeah. And then, we've got build logs up on all the websites that say, here's all the parts that I used, here they're all fit together. The websites are great resources for those questions. All right. Anything else we need to talk about on material before we?
Well, kind of related to that, I just wanted to throw in probably one of my favorite aspects of droid building is that, we've got lots of, they're just stunningly beautiful R2s and BBs that are spot on screen accurate. I mean, you can, figure out the mods that were made from New Hope to Empire. And so somebody can build one that perfectly matches an Empire build. And that's great. And that's cool. And absolutely support that. But if you want to make a rainbow colored R2 that, sings YMCA, then go for it. And it's, that's one of the things that I love, because I'm in 501st and Rebel Legion as well. And, those clubs are very screen accurate oriented. And that's really what I want to do. Droid builders, you want to build a droid? Cool. Come join us. And it does make a different vibe in the club.
Another
better or worse, just different.
The 39.1s, which can be really dressed up, and this is another 3D printable droid that's really good to start with. It doesn't take a lot of skills in the beginning, but you learn 3 or 4 major things and you can have a really cool looking little track droid running around, do whatever you want to with their domes, with their bodies. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. And one of the things with the color schemes and stuff is mine. I got the gold dome and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And I was researching color schemes and I found, okay, this is R2A3. So I said, okay, this is the way it's described. And it was based on the toys that they'd put out. And you see the droid for technically about 2 seconds in the movie. And then with the remastered stuff, they said, oh, well, that's really not the way that looks. And like my dome colors are completely wrong. But so I'm just, I'm not repainting mine to match what they revamped it to. I'm just going to keep it the way I've got it. So.
Yeah. And part of what made me go with an alternate color scheme on this guy was, his real dome is over there. But, I said, I don't want to, if we have some really beautiful R2D2s here in Cincy. And I said, if they're going to an event, I don't want to be the second R2D2 because it's confused the public. So I intentionally wanted something different that we could still play.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking for different color schemes and different droid builds now, just from like the one that McMaster just built for the show, and even in Mandalorian and stuff, you're seeing some new droids being introduced, which is really cool.
Yeah. We've got one of the guys local here to Charlotte has, I think, 3 different domes for his droid. So, if he does R2D2, and I take my R2, but if there's another R2 or somebody is bringing theirs, he'll swap out. He's got a clear R3 dome or he's got an R5 dome, and it gives the droid a completely different personality based on what dome you put on there.
That's the good thing about the R2 units. They're really versatile that way.
Mhm.
I will say most of the people that join the club always tend to, if you notice, do a R2D2 or a BB-8 first, and it's usually, typically, it seems their second or third droid is when they really start going and doing different paint schemes and stuff like that. And it's okay to do a a cannon droid as your first one.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and it's okay to do a different one as your first one. So
yeah.
But
I'm trying to think from Celebration Chicago, we had over 100 droids represented in the builders room. And of those, I want to say like 75 or 80 were R2s. And of those 80 R2s, 65 of them were R2D2.
Yep.
So, I mean, usually the vast majority are R2D2, but
Well, that was the same with BB-8. I mean, we were majority, and there were only a few different color schemes that were brought to life in there. But there's a lot more been built now. I mean, Trevor's got a really cool one with the blue and gray that he's done.
mm-hmm.
And then you can go really crazy.
BB Stitch.
Yeah, I love that one.
That was a lot of fun.
Last year.
And I know we've got Seth is working on this his nurse droid.
Mhm.
So we've got quite a few different color schemes coming out in the BB series.
No, and that's with Badley taking, doing several different ones with the Dio bodies and adding several new things to those. So there's a lot of new concept stuff coming out. It's really cool.
All right, I think our next thing is electronics. So electronics is one of those things. There's a million different ways to do it, and some things work better than others, and some things just don't work at all. So who wants to take the first shot on electronics?
Any others?
Yeah, so actually, I guess all of my standard, astromech style droids are it's an Arduino core, and then multiple servant boards within that system and structure. And but people have done impressive variations with going to coding their own systems based on a Raspberry Pi platform and stuff. I think the great thing is we do have some very good core systems worked out as a club that for all the different BB, etc. So if coding and electronics scares you, as it certainly did when I started, there's very much, it's not a kit in that sense, but it is very much a get one of these, get two of these, put them together, download this code, we'll help you along. You will learn a lot along the way. You'll be able to figure it out, and the clubs are there to help you.
Yeah, the simplest drive, I guess for an R2, but BB-8's a lot more involved. The simplest drive for an R2 is using either an RC car or a plane RC plane remote, and then you just plug your motor controllers straight into those, and you can buy everything off the shelf. You get a little more involved when you start adding the lights and sound and being able to trigger certain stuff like that. A lot of people use PlayStation remotes or Xbox remotes. And another very robust, very simple solution. We've got the PlayStation Move controllers. And these kits the PlayStation ones are really nice because you buy whichever controller, you buy an Arduino board that you can plug Bluetooth into, you load the program onto it, and you're good to go. There's a little bit of configuration, but that's a very simple, very user-friendly, very inexpensive control system.
And try to plan that out from the beginning if you can. I mean, which route you're going to go, whether you want to go with, the RC system, and which is one of the reasons to do that is just the connectability and the reliability of that system. And as Mike talked about, they're a lot easier to program for people beginning if you're just going to keep a really simple droid. But if not, if you want to go with something like the stealth system, which keeps your controllers a lot more hidden, several other systems out there like that. If you don't want to be, noticed by the guest when you're operating your droid. You can look at doing those, but try to plan that out in the beginning so that you don't waste a lot of money, on buying things that you don't need up front. Know what you're going to do. If you're going to use the RC system with the motor controllers, then draw a little diagram or look for some things that people have done. Plan out your power system. Plan out what batteries you're going to use is another really big topic here these days, of how small you want it to be, or do you want to use just the standard car batteries, which are heavy, or do you want to use the drill batteries, which are really easy to charge, reliable, can be transported on planes and stuff like that too. And then with your sounds and your lights, everything's pretty standard, but there are new things that people are inventing and building out there. So kind of plan that out as you go to on what you're going to put in your dome, if you're going to have lights in the body. So there's planning that needs to go into that. But the good thing is there's a lot of build logs out there that show what they've already done. So you can use those.
Yep. I've got the stealth controllers that Matt mentioned, and they're about that big. I can easily hide them in my hands or in my jacket pockets. My other builds, I've got a K9 from Doctor Who, and I wear the Fourth Doctor scarf, and I can easily hold those behind my scarf, and nobody realizes that I'm driving K9, even though he's sitting right there next to me.
The strange thing is, I think all of us can say that you can have the really big remote right on your chest driving the droid, and there will be someone to come up to you and say, that's really cool. Who's driving that? Blinded by, just looking at the droid and paying attention to him. So don't be embarrassed to use the RC controllers in a way. You can still keep the magic alive with those controllers, and, just staying back out of the way and letting the droid do the work.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of reliability to those systems too, that you don't get in some of the Bluetooth, especially Wi-Fi. There's a video that went around 2 years ago now, I think, and it was an event in Japan, where they were unveiling something, and they had R2 behind the screen, and they turned him on, and he took off and ran off the front edge of the stage. And that was because there was some kind of glitch in his controller. So I'm not saying it's unavoidable, but certain types of controllers are more.
That brings up another really good thing. Reaction time on that event could have been solved by having an on-off switch and having a secondary remote system that can actually kill the droid's power. It's embarrassing enough for that to happen, but it wouldn't have been nearly as embarrassing if he could have just cut the power at that point and stopped him from falling off the stage. And that's something I do on all of my droids now, is have another system that can cut their power. But we're working in the public a lot more, and we have to be safety conscious on what we're doing. So please, just be aware of those concerns.
Yep. I know as a club, we've had some opportunities to work in professional production. I won't name specific names because it's not widely known. But one of the tests that they do is a cutoff. You have to be able to be driving your droid, push a button, and everything stops. And in order to get registered to do these types of productions, you have to be able to prove that as a safety thing.
Yeah, and it's to the point of being able to cut your remote off. What happens if your remote totally dies? You want that droid to stop right where it was at that point, and not do anything. If it loses signal and just takes the last command that was there, and he's driving forward, you end up running into someone or running off the stage, which are both unwanted.
Which with a mouse droid isn't such a bad thing. It's a bad thing, but it's not as bad because they're lightweight. Where you take some of these R2s and BB-8s, or I don't know what the range on those, 50, 60 pounds. You kind of roll over somebody's foot. My R2 weighs 87 pounds. Topher's all aluminum is probably 150, 200 pounds.
Yep.
And then you start looking at the sharp corners and stuff on that. You can seriously hurt somebody.
Yeah, I'm constantly amused, on the boards about every couple of months, somebody will come on, hey, I really want to do a fully autonomous or, build AI into it. I'm like, oh my God. Cool idea, but oh wow, that could be scary.
I mean, eventually we'll probably get there with LiDAR and everything else that can be used now, but it's not at a hobbyist level.
No, definitely not.
Cool ideas, and I don't want to discourage anyone from doing it. And definitely, if you can make it happen, then let's keep moving innovation forward.
Oh yeah.
I think our next topic is drive systems, kind of the R2 system. This is actually a picture of mine before I finished building him. When I had the feet off and everything, we were talking about doing this kind of a panel, and I said, all right, let me take a picture of this. So you can see my front wheel there in the middle, and then mine uses just 2 scooter motors in the back. Those are surplus Razor scooters, or from Razor scooters. Some of the guys use bigger, heavier duty motors with the aluminum Droids. A lot of guys have switched to using brushless motors, which we found are very reliable and very low power consumption. Matt mentioned the drill batteries for a power source. Yeah. On a system like mine, or on the ones with the old NPC style motors that we used, those batteries wouldn't last very long. You get maybe an hour of runtime. With those NPC motors, they were used as a proof of concept, and they ran an entire weekend. It was a proof of concept thing. So,
and the Q85s, which I talked about, that's the brushless motor system that we use, and those on the drill batteries can run, all day at a convention, or drive through a parade or something like that. I've ran around 5 miles on one of the drill batteries on one, but not everyone needs to do that. So also think about that in your design.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things. The heavier your droid is, the beefier motors that you need, the more power that you need to supply those motors, in turn adds weight to your build. So it's kind of a cycle there. You get to a point where it's like, okay, where do I stop upgrading stuff and cut the weight back down? And then BB-8 drive system. There's been a lot of change on that here recently.
Yeah, Justin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the BB-8 drive systems, basically when we first saw BB-8, pretty much almost the whole club was thinking that it was a hamster ball, and then we realized that it's an actual axle that BB-8 rolls upon. I guess you could say an imaginary axle. But they had one with with the green screen droids. But so originally when the club started, people were taking clear spheres or half spheres, taping them together, and basically putting an RC car in the middle and sticking some magnets to it, and so the head would stay on. Then as the club progressed, we started doing a couple of guys built drives that were solid axle, and then the club started progressing some more, and the predominant ones now, I would say, are the Carry drive and the Joe's drive are the 2 probably most popular, readily available axle drives. And then people are building and designing their own and doing their own things and own spins on those drives. One thing that is cool about the BB-8 drive system, and kind of why it seemed like we didn't touch on that with the electronics portion, is the drive system in BB-8 pretty much determines the electronics. It's not quite as interchangeable as R2 is, just because the people that have done the Carry's drive, they all went with the Xbox remotes, and now we're starting testing the RC controllers with the Carry drive, and so there's a little progression there. And then Joe's drive, he has his controllers that he designed to work with it, and it seems like most of the club is following that and doing the electronics that match the drive system. And the same thing similar thing with the batteries. Most people do the battery setup that is for the drive, and a lot of that is packaging. And
Yeah, Justin mentioned, I mean, like Carrie's drive is that drive system. Everything, when you go look at the way it's built, there's a full instruction manual on how to print everything, how to assemble everything, how to wire everything, what you need up front. And the same with Joe's drive. And people are adapting those new things to those, or building custom-made PC boards to make wiring simpler. And that's where, we encourage innovation and help move these things forward.
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of changes for BB-8's been in constant. I mean, I don't think there's been a set standard the way it's too new. The way that to have a set standard the way the R2 builders have done, because for a longest time on the R2 side it was, this is the way you do your legs, this is the way you do your body, this is the way you do your motors. You have these couple options, but with people started looking into these new Q85 brushless motors and the scooter motors, and there's the little brushless outrigger motors that on the lighter droids, where we're starting to see some new innovations on the R2 side also with all that. So it's been exciting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Next, super easy drive system on the mouse droid. Mouse droid is basically as simple as you get. It's a shell on an RC car. I don't know Matt, except for Matt's there, who's got a little more involved.
Well, he was built to tow, BB-8 and pull R2 around, so he's a little more hefty.
Mm-hmm. And we mentioned the Q85s and the trial platform for those. Mm-hmm. Every year when we don't have Celebration, the droid builders get together and do our own DroidCon. And it was 2016, I think. One of the builders from California named Kevin shows up and he's like, "All right, I found these really cool brushless motors that nobody liked, and I found this motor controller that works really well for them. And as a proof of concept, I put them in a mouse shell." And so that became the Mousezilla, and that ran around pulling people. There's video out there of people like surfing on them, standing on them, riding them like a surfboard, laying down, doing planks on them through the hotel that we were using for our little convention, and people started building them. So that's a lot more involved, of course, than a simple mouse droid, but that's a great place for somebody to get started. You can build your own shell if you want to. You can do it out of wood, fiberglass, styrene, stick all the bits on there however you want, and then put the drive system in it.
Yeah, and these have gotten a lot easier to build now with 3D printing. I mean, you can buy the shell, the form shell, and then buy the RC car, and there's people that have designed little printable pieces that help mount them in there, and then you print the greeblies on the side and paint them black, and you're good to go.
Yep. I actually saw a post on, I think it was on the 3D printing subreddit, where some people were, here's the files to print an RC car. So it'd be interesting to see how you could take that, print your own RC car parts to make the mouse droid, and then put all that together.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to buy an RC car off the shelf, because we know a lot of times components are cheaper than buying a whole thing to cannibalize it.
Yep.
So, all right, and I think we're coming up on the end here. So here are our websites: astromech.net, the bb8builders.club, and the mousedroidbuilders.club. And then we've got plenty of time for questions. I know we've seen a few comments come through the different streams. So if anybody out there has comments or questions, anything you're wanting to know.
People were saying thanks so much for representing the droid builder groups, and that Troll and Error said that they grabbed the nearest PS nav controller before realizing nobody could see it.
Yeah. And it's easy to do. I'm sitting here looking at my desk. You know, I've got piles of electronics components and controllers and stuff, and it's like, okay, I have everything except what I use for R2. So, I guess one of the things. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brandy.
Sorry. So one of the questions I think we've gotten in the past was, how in the world do you get started with this?
Research.
Sign up for the boards.
Yep.
Sign up for the board, join the Facebook groups. There's, a huge influx of things on there. So, and just start asking questions. I mean, find someone that's built something like you want to build, and private message them. I mean, all of us are willing to talk with anyone and become, a new droid builder.
I will say a lot of people, you can even message on the Facebook groups. A lot of people are like, hey, I'm from Atlanta. Are there any other builders here? And then usually someone will tag someone if they're not from that area. And then, you can connect with them that way. And then as you can get together with them or help them with their build, or, they can help you, I guess, or however. But then you can connect with someone local. And that definitely helps a lot. When I met some of the local guys here, it really helped me like overcome the oh, I don't think I can do this, and being very, very scared to, okay, let me just build it, Yeah. But you do want to research a lot for.
I think I was in the club for about 6 months just reading on the forums before I actually bought anything. Might have even been longer than that. Come to Dragon Con and hang out in the droid play area and talk to people. Great way to meet people. The Atlanta area has a huge builders community. Here in Charlotte, we've got a few of us left. I know there's a few up in Columbus. I think Topher said he's up in Columbus. There's a few people up that area. Cincinnati.
Yep. We got a couple of droids if you kind of capture the whole Columbus, Indy, Lexington, that whole catchment, we've got a lot of droids in the area. So happy to chat. I'd say the other thing, it can be really intimidating to look at it, because there's electronics and software and solid material crafting and all this stuff. Like, when I started this guy, I was really good at letting the magic smoke out of electronics. My soldering skills were atrocious. The last time I had taken a computer programming course was college 20 years earlier. But the club is really good at helping you out and helping you work through those things, and just ask questions, jump in. We were all new to it, and a lot of us had basically zero skills when we started, and now it's a lot of fun. So
yeah, and look at starting small. Start with the 39.1 percenters. They're a great starting platform. The mouse droids are really good, but you can be like me and just I jumped in on BB-8 and thought, man, he's going to be really simple, but it proved to be 4 years later that we're still working on him. And we haven't mentioned much, but like Mike's got him behind him, is the pit droid. It's an inanimate droid, but still, it's part of getting in, learning, especially if we want to learn 3D printing and learn painting and those set of skills up front, then jump in on those.
Yeah. And it can be hugely rewarding. Celebration Chicago, whenever that was, 20 million years ago. I had Chopper, and I decided not to. Well, I finished him a little late to get into the droid room, and I didn't want to try to wheedle my way in, so I just ran him around the floor every day. And my God, I had people literally. I would be rolling around on one side of the expo hall, and I'd hear very faintly, "Chopper!" and somebody would come sprinting across the entire hall, the entire freaking McCormick Center, to come up and get a picture. And then the last day of celebration, my partner and I, kind of crashed down in the lobby of the Marriott. And, we sat down at the bar and ordered a couple of drinks, and I just had the controller kind of stashed under my arm. And I'm driving him around the lobby over there about 20, 30 feet away. and just for probably 2 hours, just interacting with people.
Mhm.
Watching little kids come up, and they're like, they didn't even look for me. They just assumed, oh, Chopper's moving, Chopper's alive. And so they're talking to Chopper. And one little girl was like writing a note and trying to figure out where she could slip it in to leave a note for Chopper. And Emperor Palpatine wanders up and is just delighted to see him. So I see this Palpatine acting like a 10-year-old child, like, ah! It's hugely rewarding to interact with the public with these droids. And they just love
it. Things. We didn't mention much about what we do with the droids, and we're getting really off the other question that we started on.
Yeah.
With Topher bringing this up, I mean, we'd love to get out and interact with the public, but we're always trying to make someone smile or bring some happiness to someone's life, and we do. Know a lot of people that have been to the hospitals. We work with the 501st and the Rebel Legion really closely on doing public events for them, or charity events that someone wants the droids to be at. We're always happy to bring the droids out and just bring those guys to life for people to meet and people to see, because it is amazing to see. And once you get one completed, even at the smallest level, someone is going to see that, and you're going to bring some happiness to their day. So it's really why we do it. I mean, we all enjoy the droids. As building, for one, is fun, and it gets your mind off of work. But then getting them out into the public is definitely fun.
And it's always fun when you have you show up at an event and everybody's so excited about Vader and the stormtroopers, and then R2 rolls out and Vader goes, "Oh no, it's R2." So
there are 3 characters that will always steal the show. It's 3PO, Chewie, and R2.
Yeah. And I mean, if there's no R2 around, BB-8 does a really good.
Well, yeah. And poor little neglect.
I will say.
Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, if you, we sort of touched on this, I think all of us have either Rebel Legion or 501st costumes, but even if you're just a droid builder and you have a droid that's completed, reach out to them, your local 501st and Rebel Legion, and they are, as far as I know, I haven't heard anyone say anything other than they welcome them with open arms, like, hey, come hang out with us. The droids do kind of steal the show, but at the same time, they love having them there too.
They'll always accept, you got anyone coming in with any amount of droids. And a lot of times at the event now, we're getting bigger where we can have our own booths and tables. So always reach out to us on that side too, if you know one of your local conventions.
So we do.
I was going to say we got some questions in the. Where can we get the 39.1 files?
So that one, they're only based on Facebook. So you'll have to join the 39.1% ERS percenters Facebook group, and then you'll get I think the files are linked at the top possibly, but if not, just do some research through that Facebook page and you'll find those files on there.
Someone else said there are moments that make the whole pain and frustration worthwhile. Definitely. There were a lot of times where I wanted to give up on building R2, and taking him out to his first event as a finished droid was interesting because he kept falling apart. But I've been to a Make-A-Wish family event, and to see those kids interact with R2 was so worth it. I've got a picture, I think, up on my Facebook or on R2's Facebook of him and another R2 and a couple of kids playing Jenga. So if
you connect with that one person at that one event, then it's worth it. And I mean, I know we've all had people come up and cry when they meet the droids, and just absolute tears of happiness, or just complete smiles. So those are so rewarding. I miss those.
Yeah.
Miss those opportunities now. We've had 2 weeks in a row that were 2 huge events that we built for a year on, and
most of us were going to be at Celebration last week. So
and then Dragon Con
today. So there's a comment here that I missed. BB-8, but a complete newbie. Definitely lots of research in there. What was your most memorable moment, Justin? Most memorable moment in R2 or BB-8 out?
Well, one of them sticks out a lot. So I went to CHOA, which is Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, one of the local hospitals, and they have an area where the kids and the family members can play. They have like air hockey and some other stuff in a craft area for the kids. Usually we'll go down there and hang out for a little bit, and then depending on the nursing staff and who all's going, sometimes we'll go up to visit some of the kids in their rooms, depending on the day or how it is when we go. And one time when I went, we were just going, and we there was a young boy playing the cello, and I think he was tipped off that we were coming up there or something, and he started playing the Star Wars theme for us. And then he came out and he wanted to take some pictures with it was BB-8 and Ray, and I think a stormtrooper, and I think that was it in that group. But he wanted to take some pictures, and and just seeing his reaction to everyone taking their time out to come visit him was very, very emotional, and that was probably one of the most memorable or emotional events I've done with BB-8. I will say, whenever you go to the hospitals, you kind of have to just decompress afterwards emotionally.
You have to mentally prepare yourself for the afterfall of those visits.
Yes. That was probably my most memorable event with BB-8. I guess.
Topher, how about you?
I'd say it's every time I'm out with this guy and I hear that somebody scream chopper and it happens at every event. He's not the character who necessarily gets as much attention as R2 or BB, but there's always one person who is just so happy to see him.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
Yeah. Matt?
I think mine was last year at Dragon Con. So it was, and this is not an R2 story. I mean, it's a Wally story, but this can happen with any droid that does it. We've all had these kids come up and run around, start coming up, running around our droids. And a lot of times we want to push those kids away because they're going to do some damage or something to one of our droids. We've all spent, thousands of dollars on these things, but something struck me about this little boy when he come up, and he was just really interactive with Wally, and he, to the point he scared me just a little bit. So I was just going to go up and be gentle with him and, say, hey, and talk to him. But he was so receptive when I got down at his level and just started talking about Wally. Then he actually started talking about, how his eyes were moving and how his head was moving. He knew at that point I was the operator and that he wasn't real. But just the interaction between me and him was really cool. And I left that moment and I get chills talking about it now, but I go back over and I start just messing with the droid, and his dad comes up and he says his dad was crying. And he said, I want to thank you for spending the time with my son, what you did. And that, I'm sorry, but you'll all get that point where you get like that. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've had a couple. Again, the Make-A-Wish Day, having the kids get up, and come up and hug R2. But for Star Wars Celebration, Chicago. Sorry.
See,
We've all been there. Yep.
Okay, focus. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. For Celebration Chicago, I was asked to wrangle R2KT for the weekend.
Oh. So, do you want to tell everyone about KT's story?
Yeah. I don't know we have that much time, but R2KT was Make-A-Wish droid for Katie Johnson, who was Alvin Johnson's daughter, who had brain cancer.
Who's the founder of the 501st?
Was the founder of the 501st. And just to have all the people come up to me, because I was there with her, and to say how much she meant to them. KT's story and what that brought to them, that she's the Make-A-Wish ambassadroid. There are now, I want to say, 10 around the world that are kind of replicas, but go out and do work for Make-A-Wish in KT's name. So take a look at, look up R2KT. She's been in which one of the movies? Force Awakens. We see her briefly in there, and it's just an incredible story. And to hear those stories from other people, that's just huge to me.
No, and we can all have those. You'll have them all the time, and it goes from that to the people all the way across the room, just like Topher's saying, of just those people who are so happy to actually see them brought to life, and not even thinking that. I mean, they think they're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of bringing these droids alive and keeping the magic alive of these droids, but tying them to something special. And I know I've heard repeated stories from Katie, and all of the Wayne Newmatcher's got one that really tears me up every time, and we've all had those events.
No.
And they top some of the big highlight stuff we've done. those stick out to me as memorable moments.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what are the other. Do any clubs meet up in person in Atlanta? There is a club that meets. I think, Justin, you guys still meet up in Woodstock?
We do, but it's kind of hit and miss right now. One, for obvious reasons, and two, the shop that we were renting has asked us to sort of relocate. So the last 2 or 3 times we met up, it was literally in someone's garage, where we used to have a shop that we met up at. So I don't know what the long-term plans are, but they do. We tend to try to meet up in Atlanta. Usually Steel would put that info on Droid Builder's site, or you can find me on Facebook and message me.
Yeah, and we're always getting together. I mean, if there's someone in the area that wants to get 2 or 3 people together, that's always, even 1 or 2 people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've had 3 or 4 different build days here at my house. I do one a year, and I've had people from all over the Southeast come in and just hang out for the day. I cook barbecue and just say, hey, everybody bring a side, bring something to work on, and hang out. Yeah. I know we're getting towards the end of our time. What plans for future? What's next? Favorite Star Wars droids you'd like to see come to life, and what are future builds that you're planning on doing? Topher, what are you doing next?
Well, I've got so many projects now. I'm going to run off the rails next, and I've got a 30-gallon oak keg that I got, and antique copper pot. So I'm going to build I suppose a steampunky, and hopefully I have some. I'm also a home brewer, so I want to put a small keg and a small CO2 cylinder inside, so he can serve. No. Maybe he'll serve root beer at some events. But, Dragon Con, he'll probably be serving a little more.
Some beer, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, Matt, what are you working on next? I know you got Wally rebuild going on.
Yeah, currently I'm stuck in a hotel for 3 to 6 months. So I'm doing small stuff. So I've got this little guy that I'm changing the mouse droid over to driving. So that's it. And I'm working with Matt Denton and Lee on Dio. I'm trying to get Matt's version of Dio finished up. So we should be getting the electronic boards in from that, and trying to get the second one up and running. So that's fun. And then working on a 39% droid here, and then also trying to finish up the pit droid here. So you can still build even if you're stuck in a hotel room.
That's right. Justin, what do you have next?
Right now I just have a couple of changes to BB-8 that I'm finishing up, and I made this like X-wing for the Dragon Con parade last year, and I'm in the middle of redoing it because it's heavy and drains batteries really fast, and I built it as a inexpensive thing, but didn't, it served a purpose, but I'd like something that's a little bit more permanent and a little bit nicer. So I'm in the middle of redesigning that entirely, and gonna start having metal cut and start remaking that. And that's about it for me for projects right now. That and finish R2 one of these days.
Yeah, the perpetual build. I've got to finish my pit droid. I think I'm gonna do. I want to do an Iron Man suit. I finally got some 3D printed files to do the Mark 39, the Gemini suit. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna build a chopper. I think I've always wanted a chopper.
I think next on my Star Wars build, I want to do 3PO. So I think that's something I want to look at doing. But it'll be sometime next year. Yeah.
Question here. Know about Fry's Electronics. Yes, Fry's Electronics is awesome. Where do you guys get your parts from? It's going to be one of those that depends on what you're building from. So in motor controllers, a lot of guys use the Sabertooth or Dimension Engineering Sabertooth and Siren controllers for brush motors. And the Q85s, I don't remember the name on those, but you can find all the resources for electronics up on the websites, on the forums.
Or on the forums or on Facebook, just do it's all here in the States, it's McMaster, Amazon. I mean, I'm getting a package every day from those guys. MasterCard for all of your bolts and nuts, and even tools and stuff too.
Yeah. So that'll just be part of your research on where to get your parts. So you'll have a building material. Robotech, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody responded in the comments for the Robotech. That's the Q85 motor controller.
And there are some other ones that people are experimenting on using, but Robotech is one that you can really do a lot of programming because you can run closed loop on it and actually set a lot of safety limits on there.
Yeah. My K9 uses the Robotech, and as soon as I let my thumb off the stick, he stops.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
There's some things that you can't do with those compared to the scooter motors and stuff, like make him shake, or that I know of. If someone knows how to do that.
Yeah, there's probably a way to do it. So
I think there would be some programming because you can actually do programming in the Robotech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does one resist the urge to build all the droids? You don't. Which one build next?
You build as many as you can mentally keep going into it. I like to keep 2 or 3 going because you always reach a stopping point, something on another one, and that's how I just get as much done as I can, is have another one to go to while I'm waiting on something or waiting on paint to dry.
Yeah.
So, a final question. What's your pie in the sky dream build? Your wildest dreams. What's your dream build?
I don't know. Let's see.
K2SO. That'd be a good one. Fully functional.
Yeah. Have a fully functional K2. That would be really cool.
But let's talk about this.
What I would think, if I had the room to do it, I would like to build. If somebody said Droidica, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to do the R2, the ferry boat R2 that we see in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
To actually make him get up and walk around. That would be a cool one. That would be a cool one.
Justin?
I honestly don't know what the R2 from the Mandalorian is really cool, and so is K2, but Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I can think of what mine would be either, but I want to finish the ones I've got working on.
Yeah.
I'm sure, October 30th, we get season 2 of Mandalorian. I'm sure there's going to be another droid in there. And we're all going to go, I got to build that. So, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that they brought back some of the older droids too in the Mandalorian. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the fun things with the R2s is you can take one dome off, put a different dome on, and you got all different droids.
Yep. Or like I had, so at Dragon Con last year, Chopper showed me some weaknesses in the construction, so I ended up wanting to reprint his internal skeleton and his legs. Well, then I had half of another Chopper, and there's this great Imperial droid paint scheme that he runs around in occasionally. Like, so there's another Chopper in the basement that I didn't bother to bring up for this because I had half the parts already.
There you go. What about L3? Yeah, you got L3 from Rogue One, the land Solo, and
Right.
yeah, she was interesting.
be a good one. I mean, even a fully functional 3PO. I mean, just like Chris Lee doing what he did. I was like, having that sitting in the house would be cool, or being able to have him just sit in a chair and function at some of the events would be cool.
3PO can't sit in chairs.
Yeah, that's not sit down.
Yeah, there's so many people in the group, and so many creative people, and so many people coming up with ideas that they share, and they're like, hey, what about doing this? Or hey, can we do it this way? Or what about this droid that we see for 2 seconds in the background? That one. And that's one of the great things about the R2 builders group and the droid builders groups is that we don't have that screen accurate or screen perfect requirement that some of the other groups do. And I'm not bashing them. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No, there are screen accurate events we have to be, screen accurate for. But as far as being a droid builder, you can come up with anything and everything, any colors. Just the amount of mouse droids, the variation we had at Celebration last year was really cool to see, from 4x4 mouse droids down to, fully rainbow colored mouse droids, to whatever you want to do. So,
we had it was at Celebration Orlando, I think, where Andy brought what do you call him? His R2 was Batman and his mouse droid was Robin. And they were the old 60s style Batman and Robin. So,
well, what he did was the Lilo and Stitch thing.
Yeah, this guy had a little flowery dress on, and that guy was fully reskinned. I was going to do another pairing this year, but thank you, 2020.
Yeah.
So next year at Dragon Con, look for another surprise.
Yeah. So, find us on the socials. I'm on Discord all weekend. I know Topher's on there, hanging out in the Star Wars at Dragon Con room. All the astromech.net, BB-8 Builders Club, Mouse Droid Builders Club. The Mr. Badley printed droids is the 3D printed one. I'll get that droid posted, or that link posted. But thank you guys.
Droid Division is another one for the and Droid Designs for Carrie's stuff.
You got the
We project 842 for the B1.
Oh yeah,
we didn't even mention BD1.
BD1, yeah.
That's a great little droid project.
Yep.
I was talking about B1, the battle droid.
Roger.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time out and dragging your droids up for everybody to see. Thanks so much. And thanks to everybody who tuned in.
All right.
Awesome.
Hopefully we'll get to do it in person next year.
See ya.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your Dragon Con.
Yes, if we could only.
Yes. Thank you, guys.